Welcome to Book Club edition 2, episode 2. The second book club meeting.
Book club,
Yay.
Book club. Chat, how many of you read the book this month?
I didn't read the last chapter, but I did the rest.
I audiobooked this whole thing, I'm gonna be honest.
I didn't read the book club.
Me, not me.
Winnie ate my book. Me,
Yeah,
I did it.
a lot of
70%
you-
me.
A lot of them are
Hand,
saying when
I
he
did
ate it. Interesting. I read some of it. That's fine. That's fine. Me smile. Excellent.
Read half, audiobooked the rest. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I audiobooked probably about half of it.
I audiobooked the whole thing and I didn't realize that there were pictures in it until I just picked it up today.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
What did everybody think of the book?
The book is someone asked, A Most Remarkable Creature, The Hidden Life of the World's Smartest Birds of Prey by Jonathan Meeberg?
I read 30%. I read 2 chapters and got distracted, and now it's already deadline. I audiobooked the whole thing. Nice, Dark Row. I'll read the next one.
Yeah, chat, Gidget is high as a kite right now.
I really
She
loved
loved
it. I liked
She's
it
having a good
lot.
time.
I really enjoyed the chapters in the Amazon.
Yeah.
Those were some of my
I really
favorite
liked
too.
I really liked it too.
I might read it again. Yay,
Wow.
caracaras! It was great so far. Yay! Some really long tangents, but they made more sense. Yes. I only a half, but it was good. Did Lucas say hell yeah?
He was very psyched
Yeah,
this morning.
He really was.
We were looking through the box and we were like, this is gluten-free and this was gluten-free. And then we realized the entire box was gluten-free. And yeah, that was super fucking nice of you guys. He
Caracaras
never
are
has
your new
stuff to
favorite
eat.
bird of prey!
Yay!
Yeah.
I
That's
also
really
want to go to the
cool.
Falklands now.
Yeah. My favorite chapter was The Curious Case of the Missing Crows and the discussions on intelligence.
Yes.
What did you guys think?
I'm gonna find the chapter.
Do
Page
any of you have
100.
experience with Birdland, the place mentioned in the book? I don't think so.
Thanks for the
I don't
sub.
think any
Is
of
it
us.
still?
Operational?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because it said he died. The start.
bird-
Yeah,
yeah,
the
the-
person died a couple of. When,
I mean, from the pictures, it looks like there's like an entire it's been colonized. So I'd assume people still live there today.
no, Birdland.
Oh no, yeah, it sounds like Birdland does not exist. Sorry,
Okay.
I thought we were
Yeah,
just talking
that's
about
what
the
they asked.
Falklands, and I was like, I don't think they disappeared.
No, the Falklands definitely still do
Yes.
exist.
The Curious
Sorry, that's
Case
what I'm
of the
talking
Missing
about.
Crows. I actually did find that. Is that the chapter? I'm going basically strictly. I didn't make notes, chat. I'm going to be honest. I should have, but I did not.
I annotated, but that was all I did.
The Curious Case of the Missing Crows. Is that where they talk about the fact that in South America they don't seem to overlap with caracaras, crows and caracaras,
Mm-hmm.
And also
Um,
ravens.
and
Yeah.
ravens, where
Mhm.
like their intelligence they probably fill a similar
And the difference,
niche.
the differences
Yeah.
between them and the true falcons.
Did any of that chapter where they talk about intelligence remind you guys of the way that we talk about intelligence when we talk about animals and how we don't like to talk about specific intelligence? Like I know we talked about the part where they mentioned the penguins
Mm-hmm.
and how the guy who studies the penguins is like you won't find anything dumber than a penguin than a rock, but like if you watch penguins in the water, they're capable of like these amazing penguin things.
Yep.
I thought that was really cool,
What
and I
they
really
need
enjoyed the
To
way
survive
Yeah.
is all the things.
they're really good at being
Yep.
penguins.
Yeah.
We're really bad at being penguins.
It's true.
Exactly.
It's like the
And
They're
then
so bad
Albert
at it.
Einstein quote, who's like, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree,
Mhm.
it's gonna go its whole life thinking it's stupid.
Yeah.
He probably said it better than that.
By species that are social.
Birdland moved to its current site in 1989. Began in the 5-acre grounds of a Tudor manor house. Where the hell?
Yeah, we were just wondering if it was like still operational today.
It says it still is. I mean, it says that it's the current site in 1989. It moved to its current site,
Okay.
so presumably, but I don't have any experience with it personally.
Mm-mm.
I wrote yes, just yes, but I don't know what I wrote yes to.
Yes.
This book was very different from the first one.
Yeah.
The first one was very much like a story, and this was. I mean, there was like dialogue in it, so I think it was like maybe like a good in between this and like a straight up nonfiction like
Mhm.
biology read.
Yeah.
So it was still fun to read, but very very different vibe for sure.
Yeah, I liked the way that he tied in the information and like stories and factual things. I felt like it flowed.
That
really
part was
well.
crazy. I'm gonna wait.
part?
The Beebs Bobo. The lines about the wildlife scholar from the medieval period who was confused about Noah's Ark and how the animals got back to where they came from really made me think about how the
Oh,
studies
yeah.
progressed along with people's understanding of science and religion.
Oh yeah, how he thought like angels like came and like picked
Dispersed
him
them
up
all
and, like,
again.
put 'em back.
Yeah. I had a couple highlighted sections from the intelligence chapter. If the ability to train your own intuition rather than waiting on natural selection to do it for you leads to the process that we might call consciousness, then another name for socially transmitted adaptive behavioral patterns compounding the insights of individual consciousness is culture. There's been a long debate over whether the ingredients of intelligence are innate to an organism's lineage or produced by the challenges and opportunities of its environment. I thought those were cool.
That's cool. I like the way that that's said.
I liked the entire chapter on intelligence too. I was like,
Alocat, I have not seen the YouTube video of Tina that they mentioned in the book. Can somebody
Cool.
link that?
oh my gosh.
If
I'm not
if
gonna
you have it
lie.
saved?
I started reading about Tina and I was like, I would die for this bird. 100%. The author equated curiosity to extinction when it comes to an animal species and how depressing, and it's depressing after it is. Yeah, that was another section I had highlighted. But their small range makes me wonder if there's such a thing as too much curiosity or too much courage, and it points to an uncomfortable conclusion. The qualities we call intelligence might not guarantee survival. We're proud of our large brains, but they come with the troublesome drawbacks, like existential doubt, for example, and they consume about a fifth of our body's daily metabolic needs. If we didn't need our giant brains, we'd probably start to lose them, just as we long ago lost the ability to breathe underwater, which locks us out of 3/4 of the surface of our world.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. It was a wild chapter.
Yeah.
She does kind of move like a crow. They linked the Tina video.
Yeah.
What page was that on, Kayla, that you just read?
109.
Oh my god.
There you go, Kayla.
Crazy.
Hold on, there's a sponsored ad.
This is the last time I'm saying it, so y'all better pay attention.
Shut up.
There's a simple way to start bringing in cash.
Okay, here we go.
Did you guys hear? Did you guys audiobook it? Parts of it?
Yeah, I did.
Did you like his impressions in there? I thought they were pretty good.
They were pretty good.
Can you possibly understand what I mean about a name? Now, come on, concentrate, because this is on. Look at me, concentrate. Concentrate. Eagle.
We're watching that video in case anyone's wondering.
Got it? Piglet. Wrong duck. Okay,
I recommend the audiobook, everyone. The author is the narrator for it.
Go find
And
Eagle.
I like when they narrate their own.
yeah, it was really good.
Isn't that amazing? And just a couple of weeks ago, this is literally just a couple of weeks ago, I thought, that's incredible that she actually does that. She gets 1 out of 3. Is it luck though? And a couple of weeks ago, I thought, well, I wonder just how clever this bird is. Because I said to her, go and find Donald Duck then. Let's see how clever you are. That's
A
one
little
out of
walk.
3. That's 2 out of 3. 1 out of 3 you could say is luck, but she gets 2 out of 3. This is why I think this bird is the most intelligent bird.
Yes, the
in
author
trouble
making
is
bird
that
sounds
as soon as
just made
nothing
it. I
happens, I
agree.
can't catch hold of her. And I've got to get her back to her ages. So if I'm going to do it, I've got to let her sit on my shoulder. I've got to grab a great big hand of food. And as long as I walk and talk and feed, she won't bite me. I'm going to go to walk a bit faster because I'm running out of food. But she knows if she's a good girl and jumps in, she's going to get double rations. In she goes, look. She dives in, she waits for the food, give her that piece, and I'm going to close this, lock it and lock it properly.
But while they're watching, that's interesting that Kayla, that you read like that one paragraph, because I took like 3 notes out of the entire book, and that paragraph was one of them.
Aw.
Because that hit me too, because I mean, I read it a while ago, so I'm trying to like remember what exactly I wrote about it. But if we're proud of our large brains, they came with the troubles and drawback, existential doubt, hell yeah. If we didn't need our giant brains, we'd probably start to lose them, just as we long ago lost the ability to breathe underwater. I'm trying to remember what I wrote. Oh yeah, are we gonna lose our intelligence? Because I feel like if you already look at humans from like 10,000 years ago to now, like we already use our brains so, in one way, less, but in another way, more. And just like overall in the span of like the next like tens and thousands of years, like what is our brain going to be used for, and are we going to lose our intelligence? Is it already happening?
And is there like some sort of evolution happening within like further like specific evolution happening like within the human race? Because like some of us do use our brains more than others, and like that big like because there are people obviously who are still out there doing those innovative and those like scientific things and whatnot, but like not everybody has to do that every day.
But as like a species, like we're not out like hunting or foraging for our food anymore. For the most part, we can make our food happen, but we're not using our brains in the way that evolution maybe designed our brains.
In a like a survival aspect.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just like as a species, where do we go in like the next tens and thousands of years? It's just crazy to think about.
There
Doom
definitely is. I think
scrolling.
like I've talked to people before about like whether or not, because a lot of people say like we'll be our own undoing.
Yeah,
Like what will that look like? Like are we going to devolve to something simpler?
just like cavemen again.
Yeah. Or like are we just gonna smart ourselves into extinction?
Yeah.
My brain is definitely melting. So it's crazy.
My brain is definitely melting. It really put how small and irrelevant we are into perspective, which I knew. I found also like the entire I know Shruti, I don't know if you read the last chapter, but the last chapter also like I found particularly like sad and devastating. I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but not the epilogue, not about the caracaras moving north, but the actual last chapter of the book. And I don't remember any of the specific quotes. I just remember being like, wow, I'm a little sad. The next intelligent civilization. We'll talk about this in the future. Yeah. I think it let me see. The researchers who study our planet today live in an age as full of insights and discoveries as the 19th century, and it must be maddening to be confronted again and again with the fact that many people simply don't care. Every scientist I'd met seemed to wonder how often they'd have to repeat that there's far more to learn about the world than we already know, that much of it lurks in the guise of the unimportant, and that all it takes to break new ground in the pursuit of knowledge is a desire to do the hard thing of seeing. That like really hit me hard.
Yeah.
I need to listen to this string theory podcast, even though I don't care about it at all.
Julia says here, 262. The more I think about it, said Julia, the more I think this idea that the world is known is what keeps people from committing to a life of discovery. Then she took a swig from her water bottle, picked up her hiking poles, and marched down the valley where the Rias had gone.
Yeah.
Chat, you don't know what you don't know. You have to remember we don't know anything.
I really like the quote of like where he was talking about Hudson's book. Like when at the end of his life, when he would like go to, like I think it was like, I don't remember exactly where he went, but it's literally like right after on 259, where it's like this is his greatest theme. That only by looking to the non-human world with all of the tools of science and art can we really see. Can we see what we really are, and that we aren't as alone as we feel.
Yeah, and then before, on the previous page before that, the main thing he concluded was the wonderfulness and eternal mystery of life itself. This formative, informing energy, this flame that burns in and shines through this case, in which in lighting another dies, and yet dying endures forever. Just a lot of that.
Yeah, and then it literally
that's
just
a lot.
says that this flame of life was one, and of my kinship with it, and all of its appearances, and all the organic shapes, forever different from the human.
I want to see someone do that research of fire and caracaras that's mentioned at the end. 100%.
I know, that's so cool.
I also thought was like, how would you do that research? Because like you can't keep up with birds.
Well, that's what it said. He was like,
Are they out there like setting fires?
if it happened, well, he literally said, he was like, it'd be really cool to see a grad student who has a love of birds of prey and pyrotechnics.
How did just mainly doing that research would be so hard because like if a bird just like picks up an ember, like a little branch with an ember at the end that flies away, you're like, where'd that bird go?
Yep, you're just like, where's the smoke?
Where'd that bird go? The
Guessing
talking
what
point
it
about
is.
how we could save Johnny Rooks was very interesting too. Yeah.
A person of arson or something. Yeah, there it is. Pyromaniacs, that's the word.
Any pyromaniacs in chat? Logan wrote some questions for us. Do you guys want to take a peek? Chat, you don't have them, but we have them.
That's a good question then from Alcat. How did you all feel about the anthropomorphism in the book, especially in the William Henry Hudson sections?
Anthropomorphism is a bit of a double-edged sword, I think. I think there's sometimes where it's very, very harmful in our case, harmful when it comes to things like the pet trade, and people wanting to own animals and like,
Which
you
they
know,
touch
thinking
on
that
a
they
little
can
bit in
be.
this book. Like you really saw the evolution of people like wanting to, because I distinctly remember there being a part about William Henry Hudson trying really hard to, I think it was William Henry Hudson, there was a lot of historical names in this book, being part of like that movement to discourage people from wanting like to own
Right,
stuffed animals
Mm-hmm.
and like maybe
Just-
not even like seeing them in zoos, but like appreciating them where they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep going on your anthropomorphism fine line yourself.
Yeah, I think it can be really harmful sometimes. Like maybe we talk about like monkeys and diapers, right? People are like, it's my baby, and like it's just not like that at all, and so that's obviously really harmful. But then there's sometimes where I think the average person that most average people are not out in nature and like are not seeing.
Just randomly look
To a ladder.
A ladder.
We're not like connected to nature as much as I wish everybody was, you know, me included. And so sometimes you have to have empathy and to care about stuff, you know, like you have to feel like it's like you to relate to it and care about it. So then we use anthropomorphism to our advantage educationally at Alveus here with the insects and like the plants, right? Like I've been super open about, we put googly eyes on them and gave them names.
Yeah,
I
there are some
think-
places that don't name their ambassadors for exactly that reason.
Yeah. But I think if I were to introduce you guys to a plant with no googly eyes and no name, and I told you its scientific name,
Hold up yours.
it's just, you
Amanda
guys just
has
aren't going to
this
care about
one.
it as much.
Yeah, I think there's a difference. It's like as long as you're cognizant of like, I'm forming this connection, but I'm not interpreting a behavior through like. I feel the way that he talks about it. I had no problem with it in the context of this book.
It kind of helped you like
Yeah,
relate, and it was like almost like a comedic relief
yeah,
in certain parts when he was like getting really like technical and like biological with a lot of the stuff, and like not really storytelling but more like a lecture, and then out of nowhere you just see italicized like, I've been waiting for you for 70 million years, talking about a caiman.
yeah.
I think there's also, and this is not like an argument for anthropomorphism, but I think there are like, especially in the case of caracaras, when you're talking about a species that is so social, and like the intelligence chapter where we're talking about the intelligence of social species, you know, like they talked about raccoons, they talk about crows, they talk about ravens, these animals that we see and we acknowledge as intelligent because we see the curiosity that we also have in them, like reflected back to us. So I think it's impossible, from some perspective, I think it's impossible to look at animals and expect to see nothing that we relate to. So I think a lot of it comes in as like, how do we interpret that to other people that we're trying to teach, and trying to like inspire some sort of enthusiasm for these animals. Because like to look at them and feel completely detached from them would be a really also wild thing to think, you know?
Yeah.
Please also use this sub to fund reading lessons for the boys.
Joe was in there and he said, do the Alveus boys not know how to read?
He
Alveus boys are lame.
He subbed and he said, please use this to fund the
They're
boys
not
read.
cool enough for book club.
And I did capital D : IRL when Maya knocked Stinky over. That's so real though, because I had just introduced Stinky, the corpse flower. I had just introduced Stinky, and then I knocked him over, and like, if he didn't have a name, you know, it's just not the same. And then the same goes for caring about their wild counterparts, which is the whole point of the ambassador model. Like, it's going to be really hard to care about the future of a corpse flower in the wild because it's just that to you, and you maybe don't know that much about it. Yeah, I gasped. But yeah, if you have a personal connection to it, I think that it helps people care more about their wild counterparts.
Yeah.
Like when you guys see the emus in zoos, right, or like hissing cockroaches in zoos, and they freak out.
Barbara.
Yeah, it's like seeing a celebrity. Yeah, I think it helps a lot in that case.
That's so true. Also good to keep in mind that we are also animals. Exactly. I think I said that once. There's a video of me on YouTube somewhere, and this is a really embarrassing thing to say, so nobody needs to go look it up. But I did get interviewed for
Immediately looks
something
it
in
up.
Alaska, and I literally say in that, like, people forget that we are also animals. Like, that, you know. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It sounded like Hudson used anthropomorphism to educate and promote respect for wildlife. I just bounced off some of the description pretty hard because of how clearly they were projecting. Yeah, I saw a red cow when driving around tonight. Oh my God, Winnie.
That was one of my 3 things that I noted down was like how far Hudson took anthropomorphism. But yeah, I agree. Like he kind of used it for like the greater good. But like I specifically on page 29, he ends like a passage that he wrote with, "You have come down to his world, his species, and touched a chord in the grasshopper heart," which like
Yes.
is a stretch, but I really liked the things that he stood for and the things that he advocated for. So
Especially
okay
in that
with it,
time
but-
of seeing
especially
so
in
much,
that time, yeah.
It's almost like to counteract that.
From the 2 chapters I read, I got the impression that Caracara is a menace, and I'm here for it. Yeah.
I did not read all the footnotes. Are
I
they
did not
worth
read the
reading?
I didn't
footnotes.
read all the footnotes either. I was gonna say something else about anthropomorphism and William Henry Hudson. I think also, and this could be like, this is kind of a tangent, but I think when we look out into nature and acknowledge that there's so much that we don't understand, like the people who do look out into nature and acknowledge that there's so much more that they don't know, I think there may also like naturally be that inclination to be a little bit more whimsical with it.
It romanticizes
Like
it,
I
yeah.
can I think I can relate to that because like I think for me anything in science that we don't know, like anything is possible.
Yeah.
And I think when you acknowledge that sometimes like if you get the right type of people that are like extremely empathetic people that like feel that much, it's not like crazy to read that he was like, if you make the right sounds, even a grasshopper will respond. I'm like, all right, maybe, I don't know. Like I've never studied, are there people out there who study grasshoppers? I don't know, maybe.
Not that I know of.
That's
So
literally- it's
Sean said like later in the book he was like, insects do some pretty like wild shit. No one just cares.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like even then, like at the end of the chapter, "The Birth of a Naturalist" on 47, it literally like it goes into talking about how he'll never know for certain, but I think I had my man, and like talking about like who killed G7, and then it goes into like about how his killer is a much larger struggle, not just between species but between minds. And an ancient evolutionary argument between generalists and specialists, and then like the quote that he put in from the Zen thinker Shiniru Shizuki.
What page?
46.
47. It goes, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few.
Yeah, so it's just kind of interesting.
Tanya kind of asked what I thought was a good question. I forgot exactly what the question was, but like, what do we think are kind of like the downfalls of too much anthropomorphism, or like kind of like the wrong kind of anthropomorphism? Like, what do you guys think?
Say that one more time.
What are like the downsides of anthropomorphizing animals? I forgot exactly how she stated the question.
I mean,
Or
sometimes
they stated the question. Sorry.
just as somebody who like animal behaviorists, like
Who said
as
it?
keepers and people in
Hanya?
the animal care field. Sometimes, for example, if a lion is just resting, you'll hear comments like, "Oh, it looks sad," but like lions sleep 17 to 20 hours a day, and they're just resting. You know, sometimes in that sense, it can be, you know, I guess maybe like, oh, they're interpreting that behavior incorrectly, and attributing like negative feelings to something that's not negative.
I think where we get, so I'm going to piggyback off of what you just said.
Yeah.
I think where we get touchy about anthropomorphism specifically is when you do like actively assign those feelings without acknowledging that we as a species are not programmed to have to survive day-to-day things.
Yeah.
So like our behaviors are wildly different on that spectrum because we don't have to worry about surviving versus an animal like a lion who is going to spend a lot of time sleeping because when they do have to exert energy, their life literally depends on it.
Yeah.
And taking them out of their natural habitat and putting them in a human-made setting doesn't change those instincts.
Yeah, exactly.
So like you can't like look at an animal and assign what we would call a human emotion. It's not that the animal doesn't have feelings.
Yeah.
It's just that what we see and what they feel are not going to be the same because our needs and their needs are very different on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like a lot of people attach feelings to animals without really making that distinction.
Yeah. I think, like, because like you said, like, sometimes, yes, you may be attributing it to the appropriate thing, but something I also learned, or just noticed a lot as somebody who took care of pandas, like, male pandas will just do breed, and some species do this. Well, they'll just walk. It's breeding, walking. If they were in the wild, they'd be doing it for miles upon miles. But you're only seeing this one panda in this enclosure, and it just looks like maybe endless pacing. But whether he is in this enclosure or out in the wild, that's all he would be doing.
Yeah.
And you're just seeing him in a human care setting. So, thus maybe you're not.
You're missing like
you're
critical
missing,
context.
You're missing some context. So like, and I'm not saying that all pacing is, there's like, there's of course stereotypical like pacing, but yeah, I think it's just understanding what you're seeing. But in a greater sense, yeah, I don't think it's wrong to attribute feelings to and make a connection to animals.
Yeah.
Depending on the context.
Go for
Yeah.
Connor.
Connor and Lucas are trying to
think
radio
also-
each other at the same time, which I think is funny.
One of the things that can be risky is that and this doesn't, we don't often have to run into animals, well, we're starting to do it more, is that people think they can do things with smaller animals because they're small and because they think they know how they feel. And then that ends up bad for the animals involved. So it's actually, I think, can be, depending on the animal you're talking about, like when people are interacting with wild animals, they think they understand, and in reality they don't, and then they're surprised when the animal behaves a certain way, and you're like, oh, I thought he liked me, and you're like, no.
I think that's kind of like the biggest scenarios that why anthropomorphizing is not great sometimes, like shows up a lot, especially kind of in our field of work. I know multiple people have brought this up, but yeah, dogs, for example. I know Beebs said, yeah, people will be like, oh, that dog's smiling, but like smiling for a dog is exactly, it's a sign of stress. So when we don't think about the actual cause of why an animal might be displaying a certain behavior and just attributing kind of human characteristics to the animal can put their welfare at risk quite a bit. Whether it's dogs, exotic pets all the time. Like I know slow lorises went viral on the internet because people would tickle them and the lorises would like, wow. But it's a stress sign, and I'm sure that like caused some people in the world to get slow lorises as pets. So I think part of the downfall of anthropomorphizing impacts animal welfare quite a bit.
Also, this is somewhat related to that. Chat, that's why it's really important when you see those videos. I know most of you guys already know just because you're tuned into Alveus and we talk about it, but when you see those videos, be critical of it, tell people when they send it to you, share it, that's not something that you want to support.
You can do command report for that.
Yep.
You guys already know.
But anyway, the anthropomorphism in this book I didn't hate
No, me neither. Yeah.
I wasn't
He used
like,
it for
gosh.
good.
No,
No,
in
it was
general-
like it just seemed like it was just kind of like
Yeah.
sprinkled throughout and like not the main focus.
And it felt very complimentary because
Yeah.
it was sprinkled amongst I think it offered this like I felt very affectionate towards these wild birds behaving the way that they did in the wild because I was reading, like these little like anecdotal stories in between. I think like I would be absolutely enamored if I saw Johnny Rooks in the wild, or if I went onto the Falklands and saw this trident caracaras. I think I would lose my mind just because of how they I wouldn't feel like, oh, I have to be involved. I would just be like, just watching them is crazy, and I would be so happy.
Yeah.
But it
watching
was
them do
also
their thing.
like him almost like telling you what the behavior means, almost kinda.
He was also curious about that part. He wasn't just
Yeah.
anthropomorphizing animals. He was like taking it the additional step.
Yeah. Because it literally, like, in, like, the sweet fishes to eat when they're in the forest, he literally, like, that's where I saw, like, a lot of it was when he was, like, retelling the story of going with Sean to look for the red throats. And, like, talking about, like, how each cry they thought would mean this, like, thing. Because, like, right here he's talking about, like, how two Gulfside terns with huge yellow bills dive bombed us as we passed sandbars where they nested, repeating a shrill of a two-note cry, "Go away, go away, go away." And that's just like what their sound sounded like, but it can also be like anthropomorphized to be like them actually yelling at you to go away. I don't know where I was going with that. I think I was just trying to like reiterate what you were saying.
Yeah. No, I got
With
you.
an example.
I'm scooping what you're pooping. Sorry.
Cool.
He also described how people in the past anthropomorphized caracaras, describing this bird as vile, cowardly, contemptible. Yeah, I
What
feel
crazy
like
thing to
it's
say.
very similar
Yeah.
to like what you've read about vultures, which is interesting because these birds share a lot of characteristics. And even when we were in San Diego, Marco was talking about the theory that caracaras will eventually lose the feathers on their heads, similar to vultures, because of the way that they eat, which is that they prefer dead things over living things. All really interesting. I don't know where I was going with that either.
I also learned that the bird on the Mexican flag is a golden eagle, but could be
Could be a caracara.
Could be a caracara.
Yeah, where
sorry,
like
random,
a
but
lot
cool.
of the Aztec and Incan
Yeah.
empires would use
Yeah.
caracara feathers as a sign of like.
But the national bird is a caracara. It's just that the bird on the flag.
Well, they thought like the way
Right?
What does the flag look like?
It's
I mean, I
it's
have a general
red,
idea,
white,
but-
green, and then it's like kind of like an Incan symbol of a golden eagle doing this, holding a snake either in his mouth or in his foot. I can't remember exactly.
I
But
always thought it was a bald eagle, but I don't think I paid that close enough attention.
they
Cool.
went into it because when Spanish came and like kind of
Took over,
The
colonized,
golden eagle was the
fucked shit up.
well because eagles already held such a high esteem in Europe and in Spain and all that jazz that they just assumed that when the Aztecs or the Incans were describing this like all like this majestic bird like that they like held in high regard was an eagle because like they are there, but like when he goes into it, it's talking about like how where the Incan Empire was like their main like city down in like Mexico City. Golden eagles aren't found there. Like they don't go down that far into Mexico, but the caracaras are heavily present. Because when I was in Mexico City, I actually saw quite a bit of them. Like when I was in Mexico last May, like they were everywhere.
Wow.
Rockstars, where'd you grow up?
Yeah, because they said
We did during our shows
I
in
grew up
Dollywood.
calling-
We also called caracaras Mexican eagles.
Yeah, I grew up
Mhm.
calling
I
the
haven't heard
crescent
that
caracara the
Cool.
Mexican eagle.
Interesting.
I think we even occasionally call them the national bird of Mexico.
Yeah.
Which
Well, they call them like Mexicans call them that.
Also, what was the name
the
of that?
bird on the flag is definitely a golden eagle.
It's definitely a golden eagle.
Oh,
It's feathered all the way down to its feetsies.
It's definitely an eagle, but
So
like
yeah.
when they describe, like when the Incans are describing it
No, yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff, like they're describing a caracara, but like the Spaniards mistook them and thought it was an eagle because eagles are so amazing.
Well, I also think somebody said in here that golden eagles were already like the bird of Spain at the time.
Yeah.
So like if the Spanish were there, it would have just like carried over.
Yeah, and the fact that like they were like they probably saw them like as they were like coming down through like the Texas area. I mean, I don't know how they
San
like.
Antonio.
Yeah, I don't know how they.
We
got
have
there.
northern caracaras around here.
Yep, northern crested.
One of Logan's questions is caracaras aren't flashy or famous. I actually think they're super flashy, but at least crested caracaras are famous like eagles or owls. And Mayberg talks about how they've been overlooked. What do you think why do you think certain animals capture public attention while others don't? I think, okay, so for like dogs are a really obvious example, or the first one that comes to mind. Dogs have like developed the ability to have a lot of expression in their faces and their eyebrows and things that I think people can relate to, and I think that's why people love them so much. Like they see so much of themselves reflected in dogs' faces. And I don't know why. We probably, you guys have heard of the concept of like neoteny, like people are really attracted to like big eyes and like baby characteristics because we want to take care of it and we think it's cute. I don't really get the fur thing. Like people
It's
love
because they
like
think it's fuzzy and soft and squishable.
squishable. Yeah.
Squishable.
Like I've talked to my brother about that. My brother
Cuddly.
just loves anything with fur. He's like, if it has fur, great. If it doesn't, yuck. And I was like, I don't know where that comes from. Just like I guess years and years and years and years and years with dogs and cats and like
Yeah, it could just be like a societal like, like we kind of like were trained growing up that cute fuzzy, like things fuzzy, they got like
Well, it's more
It's-
baby things, like when you see like puppies or
Yeah.
kittens or baby.
but like the
animals.
fuzzier and like more blob shaped they are, they're like, oh my god, it's amazing, it's so cute.
And like when you think about it that way too, like humans are like programmed, like I mean, we're like programmed to want to like help things. So like
Yeah.
the softer, the smaller, the bigger the eyes, like more.
The easier
I can
it's
help
seen.
it. I can help it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like actually true, but I've read somewhere, I've never actually like looked it up, that like that's one of the
Yeah,
reasons that
Poncho.
cats started meowing that the way that they do is kind of they sound
Yeah.
more like a crying human baby, and it just made humans kind of want to step in naturally and help more.
Yeah.
But like I think this is what you were saying, Lindsay, but I think a lot of it is inherited too, because I started my life as like someone who only liked fuzzy things. Like no, but I would cry if a fly landed on me. Spiders, absolutely not. Snakes and lizards, absolutely not. And the only reason I was like that way was because of my mom. So I think a lot of it is inherited, like what people think is learned. Yeah,
we grew up like they Lindsay just
cultural.
said,
Yeah.
we grew up with toy plushies, so it's familiar.
A snow pig, I really like that answer. It's super cultural, I think, because same thing like in India. Obviously not everybody, but for the most part, people really like animals that are cute, that are furry, and same thing like snakes and really big bugs and lizards are kind of villainized and. But a lot of them are venomous too, so maybe you're kind of naturally inclined to feel a certain way about a type of animal if you don't know if you can feel like you can protect yourself from that animal. So
Pearl was
very
like,
cultural.
Fuzzy equals cute, scaly equals gross.
Yeah.
And maybe like fuzzy also equals safe.
Yeah.
Most furry things
it
aren't
could just be like a
venomous or
basic
poisonous.
like survival thing too. Where,
Yeah,
like,
fear
if
is
it's-
very powerful. My
Yeah.
niece, like, I've tried so hard to get my niece to like bugs and like be the little girl that runs out there and like picks up worms and stuff. She was great, and then she went to school one day and there's a spider like in her classroom, and her teacher screamed because of the spider, and she is now like terrified, like will not consider liking them again. Like it takes very little for you to be scared, and that's enough. You know.
Yeah.
Fear is hard to get over once it's
Yeah.
instilled.
Oh yeah, especially when you're that young. Like you're naturally curious and like not really that scared of things until the way the people taking care of you react, if like kind of like with your niece, like because the teacher that is supposed to be like taking care of her, protecting her, is freaking out, that means she has to freak out.
On your end, that's like the biggest like core of my existential crises, that I think people lack empathy in general. It's hard to get people to care about other people, let alone animals. When I think about that too much, I literally spiral into a deeper hole because I'm like, how am I supposed to make people care about this when I can't even make them care about other people?
Oh my god, yes.
I don't know who the quote's by, but there's a quote that's like, the root of all evil is believing that some lives are worth less than others, or something like that.
Yeah.
I do think. Okay, well maybe we'll spiral if I start talking about it.
That's so hard. But that's like the first step. Because like you don't have to like when you really think about it, like we're not even asking you to like them.
Right.
Just like respect that they also have a
Respect
place
their
here,
existence,
and
yeah.
that
Yeah.
they're not worth anything less because you don't like them.
Right.
Let's spiral. Let's
Liking
go.
them is not going to take a piece of the pie away from what you already like.
Yeah.
It's just making your pie bigger.
Yeah. I think like with people, not going too far into it, one of like the best ways to like learn about people and accept people is like to know more people and to feel like they're like you, right? And like relate to them on certain things, like, oh, this person also loves soccer, or this person also loves their mom, or whatever it may be. And I think that's part of why I lean so hard on like personifying the bugs and like the plants now, is because it's really hard to relate to them. I don't know if that's because, well, for plants it kind of makes sense. For bugs, like because they're so small, because like people just don't have a lot of experience with them, because they don't even think of them as animals or like wildlife.
Have
it's
they
just, like,
not
bug.
seen A Bug's Life?
Great
That's what I want to say.
Great movie. Maya's
are the ants.
single mom spider post on Twitter. Yeah, that's an interesting example actually. Forever ago, I found a wolf spider that had a ton of babies on her back, and I tweeted it. Granted, a lot of people were upset that I tweeted it, but I tweeted the picture and I was like, a single mom who works 2 jobs. Like that was the caption.
Oh my god.
And a lot of people were like, okay, slay. Like, wow, hardworking mother. Like, some people can relate to stuff like that, but they need something that is like them.
And it's hard not to like, I feel like, I mean, obviously like we're all in this field, we've all studied it. I at least want to think that I am able to accept all animals for like what they are. And I do, like, I don't want any animals to die. Like there's some animals that like I don't want you within like a 5-foot radius, but I want you to be happy over there.
Yeah.
I want you to live your life
wasps.
in that lane, and I'll live my life in this
Exactly.
lane.
Wasps have always been that one thing that I was just like, dude, I don't need you anywhere. Like, fuck off.
No, same.
Go
Ever
die.
since they like.
But then in the book,
stung
he
my
was like, they can
finger.
recognize their sisters. I was like, they can recognize their sisters.
Yeah.
What?
That's
and,
cool.
I know.
and you
when
think
they're
I would be
talking
kind of
about in the
beyond that, but
Amazon
like we're all
River.
not like instinctively.
Yeah.
That
It-
like
it
is
works.
really
It's like
similar
Ace
to.
Ventura's fear of bats, and he still saves them.
I'm sorry, but I hate wasps. But they
Yes.
recognize their sisters.
Well,
I
like
still-
even in the
I
book,
still don't
they
want them
go
near me.
into like how the red throats like go after wasps, and like they talk about like how the lives of the different wasps, and like how they like
They talk a lot about wasps.
they really do.
Yeah.
Like literally,
Such
like
a
how they're like,
spicy
I'm gonna build my
beast.
nest right in the middle of all these birds because I know it makes me safe.
Yeah. I read a study like years ago about
They're just spicy
facial
bees.
recognition in wasps, and like I don't know if it was yellow jackets or what, but like yellow and black ones have different facial markings, all of them. And so this is kind of sad. In a lab, they like altered their facial markings with like marker or paint or black, whatever, and then put them back in the nest, and they immediately just killed them because they were like, don't
Aw.
know you, like you're not
Stranger
from
danger.
here. Yeah, because they changed their facial markings. They're really, really good at it.
They're wicked smart.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, that's sad, but it is interesting, and that's what Shruti was saying. I think that's really important.
Don't be. I still don't want wasps near me.
That's fine.
Don't mistake what I'm saying. Get the fuck away from me.
They did a study with sheep too. No sheep killed each other, but like they did like facial recognition of
They're
sheep.
like, you're just gonna go live in that corner. We're gonna all live in this corner.
No, they found out that sheep were pretty good at it too.
That's crazy. That is really interesting.
Going back
Yeah.
to a little bit of what we were talking about with like what we look for and why some animals are more appreciated than others or whatever. I think with birds, you probably experienced this as well working with birds. People have a lot of very strong feelings about birds.
They
Some
really
people
do.
hate birds.
They
And I
really
think
do.
it does tie back to, Shruti mentioned reptiles, and birds have faces that are quite similar to some reptiles. But
They
the
do.
core of that
Yeah.
is that like you can't, there's no expression most of the time in a bird's face. Like
Yeah.
your larger
You're-
birds,
you're-
your
you
birds
got
of prey. There's nothing for us to read there easily. So there are a lot of people who are like, I don't, because you
My
can't
sister
read
hates
them at all.
birds,
You can't
and
track
I
them.
worked with them for
So
like
a
7
lot
years.
of people have a lot of very strong feelings about birds. It was one of our favorite things, I think, when you took birds places to educate people about birds, that people got to see kind of like how they process things and appreciate them for being something so completely different than what we are and what we look for in typical animals. So I think that is part of it. I also think that people connect some of the way that these animals behave to the way they feel about them. Like vultures obviously suffer from a really negative perception, and for a long time it was because of what they ate. It's the same with roaches. People associate them with being dirty or gross or spreading diseases, when in reality that's not the truth. That's just what we associate the places that we frequently see them with. And caracaras are a lot like that. They share a lot of similarities with vultures that way. So like when people were talking about them
Literally
being
at the
bad
end of the book.
falcons, because they were more like vultures and
Yeah. Like at the end of the book where
things like
literally
that,
they
there's-
anthropomorphize the Caracara saying like, yeah, I eat dead things and I look great doing it.
yeah.
I think it's symbolism too. Like somebody here was saying that, and somebody in chat might have said it, and maybe somebody knows this, but isn't there something, because that makes me think about like Teddy Roosevelt hunted bears, but then that like the teddy bear stuffed animal became like a thing afterwards to like change the perspective on them. Am I making that up? Does
I'm
somebody
pretty sure
know that?
Roosevelt like
I don't
he
know.
loved bears so much that he would hunt them, but then like
Yeah,
because he wanted
something
them
about the
like
connection
something
between
like
Teddy
that?
Roosevelt
Yeah.
and stuffed animal bears. Somebody tie
Yeah.
that
Okay.
together
A lot of
somehow.
people are saying I've heard that.
Yeah.
before.
Yeah,
A
like
lot
didn't
of
like he
people-
loved them
Yes,
so
yes,
much that
yeah.
like he would go out and like kill them, and that's like how a lot of hunters are. Like
Once
they
again,
love.
no, there's a disconnect there.
But basically, what if there is some connection there to, if I'm not making that up entirely,
saw a
but like
baby bear and
changing the
didn't
way
want
that
to
they're
shoot it.
viewed
There
in
it
culture
is.
by creating, i.e.,
He founded
teddy
the
bear.
park services to preserve areas. He loved to hunt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that about him,
Okay.
but the connection between. But anyway, basically, just
It was almost like a propaganda tool.
things are
Or like a
are
promotional
loved
tool.
when they're symbolized in our culture of like, this is safe, and this, like Shruti was saying, this is safe, and
I
this
think-
is.
A snow pig also kind of brought up the same thing, especially
Yeah.
like culturally. If like an animal has been symbolized in some
Mhm.
way, you also
Yeah.
perceive it
eagles.
maybe.
This
Yeah,
is, like,
a little
totally different,
differently.
But I read somewhere at one point because like a lot of cultures have dragons,
Mm.
and there's a lot of there's a lot of theories about where dragons, like the theory of dragons, originated. And I read one of them was like
Oh, he saw
That-
a baby bear and didn't want to shoot
that
it.
dragons
So
are
thank
a
you for catching
combination of like all of the animals that humans like evolved to fear combined.
Interesting,
So like
okay.
really,
Yeah, I've never thought
really
about
large
that.
birds, snakes,
Scales.
lizards, like
Yeah.
animals
Yeah,
that could
okay.
potentially be could
Talons.
potentially hurt them, talons.
Fire
Because
breathing.
like there are like once upon a time there were very, very, very large birds that could do. I mean, birds now could do damage if you did, you know.
Literally, like in the,
But,
I think
like,
the
that was a
dinosaur
theory, and I
chapter,
thought it was a really
they
neat
talked
theory.
about the one bird that was like 2,000 pounds.
Territorns.
Yeah, that had like
Yeah.
a 20-foot wingspan. They were like 2,000 pounds, or like 1,000 pounds.
Terror
or something.
birds.
Those
Yeah.
all just as you
Space.
10
said.
feet tall, all that.
We should make a note of that terror because we have a terror bird skeleton and an emu skeleton. Oh,
Space.
I love dragons so much too. But I also
When
love
did
birds.
space walk out?
So
Where
like,
is he?
we used to one of the birds that we used to work with, people used to refer to as the dragon. She's
Yeah.
a bald eagle, a big lady.
Saphira.
we have
Oh,
a
no, not her,
picture
widow.
that I always forget to pull up
Saphira wasn't the
of a
dragon.
terror
She
bird
was named
skeleton
after
next to an
one,
emu
but-
skeleton,
That's
and they're like in the same shape and they look the same.
Dragon.
That's crazy.
And I just remember that, and we need to pull it up more.
Robin used to write down on her little post-it note, "Widow with the mother of dragons."
Wow! Broken Robot Art with another $500 donation.
Way to drop that during
They did that
book club.
yesterday. What the heck?
Thank you.
Thank you
so
so
much.
Welcome to book club.
Welcome to book club.
That's awesome. Thank
God
you.
damn.
A book enjoyer, perhaps. Thank
So
you
many
so much.
books.
Oh,
Oh, hell yeah.
Wow! He's
Woo!
listening.
Yeah.
He's not there.
What's it like
How do
being
you
rich
do that?
asking for me? Asking for probably a lot.
I bet he moved to this.
Thank
He
you.
probably is in the studio
What the frick?
playing with that computer.
Terror
Oh, you know what?
Birds
It
not
probably
be
wasn't space.
confirmed.
Who was that? Was that Logan? It doesn't matter. Anyway,
Either way, thank you for doing it.
Yeah, that was cool.
Always watching. Space is always watching. You're
Mods
That
can
was
do that.
way six. Thank you. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
I got distracted by the $500.
Same. Yeah, I don't remember what we were talking about.
before.
I don't know then.
Terror birds.
Terror birds.
But yeah, no, the descriptions of the really large birds were really wild. And like, can you imagine seeing a bird with like a 23-foot wingspan?
The training center is 30 feet
That's
on the short side.
What?
crazy.
What?
Like, imagine seeing
Imagine a bird with that.
size.
Yeah.
No, I will
I
not.
literally, I think I like.
It's the fox enclosure's like 20 feet on the short side. So
That's
just
crazy.
longer, just bigger
20.
than the
It
fox
doesn't even
enclosure.
feel like it could be real.
Yeah.
That part was wild, like reading about like how like the land used to be connected and like what Antarctica
so,
used to
too.
look like was crazy to me. And then like at the end when they were like, with the warming of the planet, like maybe Antarctica will return to that green. I was like, what?
Mm.
What? My brain can't. Amanda and I also had a discussion the other day about something that was really cool, that we were talking about like some of the things that we grew up like just like accepting as scientific fact.
Oh, yeah.
Like we were like reading this book and we were like, oh, I guess I was only like 10 years old when it was taught to me
Yeah.
as scientific
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's the Argentavis magnificens.
Yeah.
Had a wingspan of nearly 20 feet long and was the
Yeah.
largest.
Wingspan,
Flying
tip to
bird
tip,
that
yes.
ever lived.
Really cute.
Yeah, it was the
One
chapter
wing,
on
23 feet.
dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I
it
was like,
crazy.
shit, I didn't realize how recent.
How
some
did
of that stuff
everybody
was
feel
confirmed.
finding out that falcons are more closely related to parrots
Oh my
than they are
God.
to other birds of prey?
Yeah.
I did not.
Did everybody
Like
know
that.
that?
Plot
I did not go into
twist.
this book, but like I really wanted to know everybody's reactions.
I was
Yeah.
shocked. It's like
It explains so much.
it does explain so much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That tracks.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That was so interesting. That was new to me. So funny.
Yeah.
Next time you look at like Siren or Mia, like think about a peregrine falcon. Like look at their body shapes. Look at the shapes
Yeah.
of
literally
their heads.
the way Tico acts.
Yeah, so I just like it was pretty
Yeah.
cool. But like also, yeah, I don't know. I
Tico
just think
thinks
it's
she's a
really cool
falcon.
thing.
I kind of didn't believe it. I had to go back. I listened to it like 3 times in the audiobook. I was like, what? What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
It is crazy.
It is crazy.
I also had to do that. This is like totally unrelated, but the only other time I had to do that in the audiobook was when he was talking about the guy telling the story about the caracara in the horse anus. And I was like, what is this guy talking about? What's going on? I spaced out and came back in, and I was like, what is going on?
What
That
happened?
was funny though.
That was really
little,
funny.
That group of people and
Oh my
his
god, all
stories
the
about
little
that.
stories that they would talk
Yeah.
about
It made
from
me
their time in
wanna
the
go do
Amazon.
that. Let's all go.
That was, yeah.
Guyana
What?
forest.
Other than like the chapters that talked about like paleogeography, is that what it's called? I forgot. And like then their like trip through the
Yeah.
Amazon. Those were my two favorite chapters. It was
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that
Made
was
this book
that was
very
one of
easy
my
to read.
favorites next to the Crow one about intelligence.
Cool.
And the dinosaur chapter, that was sick.
I don't know, man. In the Guadalupe Caracara, they talked about white sharks. Just saying.
Yeah,
There were a lot of like
They
nice
talked about
little-
sharks in the book.
They incorporated facts about other animals very nicely.
They really did.
Yeah.
I learned
Wow.
so much about bugs from their time in the
Yeah.
Amazon with
Yeah.
Sean.
Like they had
with
the,
Sean
the
talking.
Burmans.
largest spider in the world
Mhm.
was made an appearance,
Yeah.
made several appearances.
His
That was
photos
kinda
in
cool.
here.
They had talked a lot about the birds. That
Mhm.
I remember, like, I don't know if anybody watched River Monsters growing up,
I
but I
fucking
was
loved
like,
it.
heck yeah,
The
let's talk about
The
Arapaima.
Arapaima!
I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I know
As
what
soon
we're
as-
talking about.
As soon as they started describing it, I was like, it's a fucking Arapaima. And then the next sentence, it was like Arapaima. I was like, I knew it.
Jeremy,
I knew it.
let's go. Yeah, the picture of the
River monsters.
Oh, the
Yeah.
side
It's a
of the
big
guy's
spider.
head is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still watch River Monsters. Yeah.
It's the best show ever.
Yeah, I watch that all the time. So it was really
The
neat.
coelacanth.
And
Yeah.
they did talk about
And
the
like they had
coelacanth.
the little trip to see the giant armadillo. I thought that was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
So it was neat.
I like-
Sariyama.
he's literally, he's just like, I'm just gonna show you the hole, and then we're leaving.
Yeah.
The part
Yeah.
in the Guadalupe Caracara
Guadalupe Island.
when that scientist
Almost
was
said
like,
that.
"Oh shit, I think I did kill the rest of them."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
like
crazy.
Yeah.
It was like, man, I thought they were running around here.
He thought they
But
were so
no.
common that he like
Yeah.
shot, and
That
then he's
part
like
was
talked about like
wild.
almost like with pride. He was like, yeah, the two that are shot got away, not
That's
realizing that like that was
Yeah.
literally the rest of the population.
Yeah.
Permalunacy, that's a really good way of putting it. That book felt really lively.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this one, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Book one. Sorry if you liked book one.
Book one was
Yeah.
fine.
Book one was
Yeah.
fine.
This one was
it's
just like-
that this one.
This one was a lot more upbeat.
Yeah, I just.
But
This
also,
one was way more
like,
my
like we
speed.
said about book one, like definitely was. He also mentioned Goss House and
Yeah.
how difficult they are to train. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
appreciate that. That book one was definitely like
Yeah, tied in, made me think about H's for
more
Hawk.
about grief than it was
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, and, that, and
birds.
again, that's totally fine.
This one was
Subjective,
definitely
teach
more
your own.
just a different
Yeah.
way to talk about birds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice though that one of the quotes that stuck out to me as a person who has trained birds that I was like a little bit like, we need to talk about this, was where they were like, the guy was talking about at the end there was a caracara that was in training, and it was a guy in his early 30s that was training her.
Mm-hmm.
Him, her, I don't remember.
Her.
But he made the comment that it's the first bird that he had ever trained that didn't need to be broken. And I was like,
What?
what?
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate that saying. I don't like it because
People say
that's
that with
not
horses,
what
too. I
you
hate
need
that.
to do. What?
Yeah.
People say
Yeah.
that with horses too.
Yeah.
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 I don't. That verbiage is just like a little like.
And I hated that.
Also, Dark Girl, I'm the same way. Listening to audiobook, like I have to take notes because I don't know, maybe ADHD for me personally. But I'm like, I it's not that I'm like intentionally trying to fade out, but like it's harder for me.
There is a drill guy, sorry.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah,
Gidget's
there's work
drugged
going
up
on.
because she don't like it.
There's work going on. Yeah,
She's so
certain
distraught.
phrases like that, like break a horse. Yeah,
I did give her a Gabby.
yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
So, chat, what did you guys? Some of you said it. This book, the first book, what did you think? Did you enjoy it more than the last book? Are you having a good time with book club?
Do we need to talk about
Gidget is
freaking animals
actually
being
high,
on
yes.
is crazy? Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All like the horror stories of like how people train birds, which we like read in like the last book. Like you've talked about how people used to train horses. Like
Yeah.
we read about like circus animals, like how people train like lions and tigers, and how dogs used to be. Like it's all so archaic, and we're
Yeah.
learning a lot more. And with that, our practices should also change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They liked it.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
I really liked this book.
It was. I am gonna bring up the question that we were talking about before we started book club being hard to answer. The plans to migrate some populations of caracaras from disappearing ecosystems seems like a great way to save the species. I don't even want to finish the question. Like, I don't want to talk about what other species, but like, what a crazy concept is that? How does everybody feel about that?
I did appreciate how he was like, "What if they just got on the subway with you?
like,
like- Got on the subway, went down to this town, like this suburb, and then came back at night."
like imagining them in like and it kind of ties into like the fact that like we are seeing more even black vultures. The black vultures range has expanded. The caracara range, we're seeing more and more northern caracaras in northern like places like New York and Canada and more northern states. Like what is that going to look like years down the road, and like how close are they going to get to like because when you read about the Johnny Rooks, it still feels like a place very, very far away. Like imagining like a bird coming up to your shoe and just being like,
What is this?
Yeah.
can I pull on this? Can I take it with me?
Can I eat it?
Like
Instantly, me,
imagining
I love
things
you.
like that.
I love you.
Right.
Like, that is, yeah.
But it is kind of a crazy thing to imagine. Just like being like, well, these birds clearly do well living close to people. Could we just put them in a place that's close to people?
Mm-hmm.
And like, what kind of impact would that have? It was crazy.
I think it's.
Obviously, it's not so, like he made it clear at the
Yeah.
end. He was like, yeah, that's not something that like we would ever do.
I think like
I'm
half the
just
population
kidding,
is
but,
ready, and half the other population is gonna find some way to profit off of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was like a crazy thing
Yeah.
to read. I
He
was
literally was like,
wow.
"I'm only half serious, of course."
There's just
Yeah.
so many dominoes that I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's possible to like predict.
You can't predict all the
outcomes.
outcomes.
Yeah.
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 What happened?
Although that hasn't stopped us from doing crazy things in the past.
That's true.
That is true.
Whether or not we learn
But is
from
it
those
more?
things in the
Is it
end,
more
who knows?
luck when stuff goes right, or us actually like?
I would say culture
Yeah.
of like the
And
place
also like
that it is in.
is it more luck? But like when like we're getting to a point now, and I know this is a conversation that I've had I think with everybody, where like, do we know when to interfere?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like
I
how
like
do we
put
make
them in the
those
middle.
decisions?
And I
like,
think also, just to add on to that too, we're in an age where I feel hopeful in the sense that like just amplifying and listening to like indigenous voices. They've been stewarding the land for the longest time, and if we just continue to listen and learn and provide those resources back to them, yeah, like the future is bright.
I think piggybacking off of that, like, to preface, I really liked this book. I really liked the author. I really liked all the viewpoints that he had. I think he stood for something really great. But overall, I know we've only read like 2 books, but like we've definitely kind of been seeing these animals from like a very, what's the word? Like a
Context.
Yeah.
Keep
like a very
word vomit
privileged
in.
context.
There you go. I was like, just word
From
vomit,
the
and then we'll get
viewpoint
there.
of white people.
I was gonna say, did you want to say
Yeah.
white? Is that where you're
I
going to say
did,
white?
but I was like, I don't know what a better way to say
This
it
is a very
Oh.
English. This is a very English way of looking at it.
a very there you go,
A
a
very
very
what?
Western perspective.
Oh.
Thank
There
you.
we go.
Maya said that.
No,
Perhaps the
No
perspective
chance.
of like, you know, a colonizer.
But
It's very colonized of us.
which like we've gained a lot from this book, and obviously like the people in this book had like the best intentions, gained a lot of knowledge, and did a really good job of like passing it on from like Hudson all the way to Mayberg. I still don't know. Myberg. Okay.
I think they're German.
But both of these books really makes it seem that like the Western perspective was like the first perspective on all these animals. Myberg did a lot better, I think, kind of going into like the indigenous perspective and including like local folks on like the studies or just knowledge he was trying to gain.
And on
But-
his trip, right?
I was gonna say with
Yeah.
Josie
Yeah.
and Rambo,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
sharing the stories of the like
Yeah.
that had been passed down through their own families, and like bringing in like the,
Yeah.
the stonework
Especially,
that
like-
like they found,
but-
like
yeah,
along
like-
the
Not to
rivers.
interrupt,
No,
like,
you're
I
right.
Yeah,
really-
especially with like I think it was like Josie and Brian that would like tell all the different stories
Yeah.
and whatnot in it.
So like I really appreciated that he brought like those voices in, but I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah.
And I can look up more books. I don't have like any on the top of my head to include
Yeah.
more books that like do have more of like an indigenous like centered perspective, because I'm sure like
Mhm.
caracaras were studied and observed for thousands and thousands of years
Oh,
before
yeah.
Hudson did. And it would be really cool
Yeah.
to get those perspectives if they are written somewhere, which I'm sure they are.
Yeah, it would be really cool to
Cat on the
get.
screen asked why we don't think caracaras are more popular, and I think it's because not enough people know about
I
them.
was just gonna say.
Yeah, like
I don't think
we
people
only
know
have
that
the
they
one
exist.
species really found here in like the northern hemisphere because they're a southern hemisphere bird or southern bird.
And also, nobody's looking up anymore. Nobody looks for birds.
That is true.
I think that's another thing. Like, I think, like, if you were to sit down and tell somebody, like, hey, did you know that there's this many, like, native birds of prey in your area? They'd be like, I had no idea. They are all the same bird to me. Like, I see a bird flying, and I'm like, that's a bird. Like, that's all they know.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, I am 100% that way with a lot of like the songbirds. I always joke. I'm like, a tweety bird is a tweety bird.
Yeah.
One thing I was confused by, and I meant to look this up and I never did. I don't know if you guys know, but like the last picture
Same,
that
yeah.
is in the book is a crested caracara in Washington.
Yeah, they've been found all the way up into Canada.
There have been some that
Yeah.
found it. Yeah, they're,
Yeah,
they're
I was
like,
like already surprised.
like
that they were
Nova
found,
Scotia.
like, up here, like in Texas.
yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
Washington.
There was one, they
What?
made a comment about
Yeah.
one that had lived in Canada for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it just
Caracara
really,
is
like,
a type of
Yeah, they-
balance, yeah.
They showed up and
Pigeon,
then,
hawk, vulture, sparrow, crow is all the birds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people just don't ask questions about what they see anymore.
yeah. Even like the park ranger in the last chapter, he was like, when they saw the caracara in New York for the very first time, he was like, that can't possibly be a caracara.
But it's crazy that he knew.
And then it like
Crazy
and then
that he
like
was
one of the
like,
guys
"Okay,
that was with like
caracara."
one of the bird watchers that was with him, they're like, oh yeah, that is one from like his travels, and he just didn't believe him because he's like, they're not here, like that can't be it. And then he goes back, looks in a book, and he's like, well, hell yeah, it was.
I saw a vulture resting in a roof the other day, like chilling on a house, and it made me think of Kayla.
Okay, I
They
wanna
have
make
some of
sure-
the bookmarks. Everybody's bookmarks.
Yeah,
Mine's
dude,
right here.
I'm so pumped.
Yeah, I'm using a bookmark.
I need to make sure I'm not making this up in my head, but I'm pretty sure a flamingo was found flying in Michigan.
Oh yeah.
We had a
I-
stellar sea eagle in Newfoundland this year. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a stellar that's been spotted in Maine for a couple
sorry.
years. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's
they
insane.
thought but they weren't sure where it came
Wow.
from since it's a.
That's crazy. Crazy.
Stellar sea eagles are crazy.
They're so cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. Lindsay and I used to work with a crested caracara.
Yep.
And he was
two different ones.
he was a delight. Oh yeah, we did. Bones.
Bonita.
Little bones.
Miss Bones.
That's not embarrassing, Roxers. That's cool.
And they definitely are very intelligent, very opportunistic.
Yes. They got a lot of
very
character.
clever, very clever birds. We
Oh
saw
my
them. Were they in the stream when we went to Ireland? They also, that facility has two northern crested caracaras named Penny and Raoul, and they perform together.
I don't
They
remember.
get out there together, and it's so funny, like watching them like run around. They're so fast.
I remember them.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But yeah.
Cool. Well, chatters, I hope you guys enjoyed book number 2.
Wait,
for
we gotta
book club.
pick our new book.
I know.
Oh, is that what
That's
you're
what
doing?
I'm going
Oh, my bad.
I hope you guys
jumped the gun.
enjoyed book number 2. It is time to pick book number 3.
I jumped the gun.
But space isn't in here, and I was see maybe.
Goddess,
it's a
I think
walk
you can
around.
only do this job if
Yeah.
you admit that there's always going to be more to learn.
It's
Space, you're right.
honestly so fucking overwhelming. Because like,
So overwhelming.
I love reading books like this, but like, yeah, it just shows you how much you don't
Yeah.
know.
I hope
Yeah.
I
It's
never
insane.
lose that.
There's
Yeah.
millions and millions of animals and millions and millions of things you can learn
I
about
was-
each of
And
those millions
plants.
and millions of animals and plants.
I was
and-
like reading
Yeah.
this book and I was like,
Geology.
there's not enough time in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
There's not enough time in a lifetime.
Oh
to
my
learn
god, they
all
had
the
a
things that I
pelican
need
become
to
a local
learn.
celebrity in Nova Scotia.
Maybe a homeless strip club.
Pelican nose looks at.
That sounds like a pelican.
That's awesome. We're grabbing space so that we can spin the wheel.
Spin. Oh,
Oh.
Are there any last minute additions to the wheel?
Does anybody have anything else that they want to talk
Is
about
the Stephen Mead
caracaras?
book still on there?
The what?
The one by Steve Irwin's wife. Steve
No.
and me.
I know.
That one's gonna be a sad one, but I'm really curious.
Can you
about
put it
that
on-
one.
Do you guys want to see a cool video that I took here
Camera's over there.
that lost my whole mind? That it blew my
We found
whole
space.
mind.
Okay.
Hold on.
Hold on, we're gonna show a video.
We're gonna ignore my comment.
No, near cry. I need to do that. I'll probably do that as soon as we pick the next book. Thank
Look
you
at
for
that.
reminding me though.
That's it. Northern caracara and a black vulture. They're hanging out. This is around here. But like somewhere in here,
Cool.
the black vulture is preening him. They're so cute.
That's so cool.
It's so cool.
Oh, there he's
Oh,
preening.
that's so cute.
It's so cute.
Oh my god.
So cool. Yeah, it's awesome.
That's so sad. All right, are we ready?
I'm ready.
Space.
Wheel spin.
Is anything changing or is it
The light eaters noted witchly.
How close were
Is-
you? I was in my car.
That's correct.
Probably like 50 feet away. I lost my mind though.
Oh, did we add all those books that I sent you, Maya? That chat gave us a list of?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
Did you text them to me?
I did. I thought I did.
You want me to add some? Hold up.
Oh, that's not my phone.
We could replace the vulture book with a different book because we've had a lot of bird books, which I'm okay with. But
Lindsay sent me books from chat, and I told her we put them on, and then I forgot. I don't know if you texted them to me. I don't see them.
I was on February 4th. You.
add more books. Amanda did have some muscle mac today. Mac Manda.
Mac Manda.
Which ones do you want to add? All of them or?
Are we trying to keep the wheel to like a certain number, or can we add as like much on there? All right.
Or whatever we want.
Dope.
Space might be adding.
There's a book suggestions channel on Discord.
Braiding Sweetgrass is one that I've been wanting to read. Lucas's
I've
sister.
heard
I've
reading it
also
right now.
wanted to read Braiding Sweetgrass for a while.
Macmanda. I don't know where Amanda is, but I like the muscle mac stuff. I think it's.
Is it
Oh,
good?
It like doesn't taste like super like protein, like
Yeah,
kind of like that sawdusty taste that some protein things have. It
Because
doesn't.
I saw that in the P.O. Box stream. I was like, I want to get some of that for myself.
They're not
It's like
expensive, but
actually-
also they're okay if you want to try one.
I'm down to try them.
Yeah.
I was always a craft kid. Regular craft, you know? And everyone was telling me like the Annies. Everyone was like, I had Annies and never went back to craft. I was like, oh,
All of them.
that's a claim. That's a claim to make.
When I first moved to Michigan, I lived with my friend slash coworker, and I didn't have a car at the time. And she was like, "Oh, I'll just grocery shop for us, and then you can just like give me half, and just like pay for your share of it." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Nope, sounds great." All she bought were two things, and it was Costco packs of Kraft mac and cheese and Costco packs of like the Starbucks Frappuccino drinks.
Hell yeah. Your roommate was living life.
No, after a week, I was like, I need something else other than Kraft mac and cheese and
Nah.
Starbucks Frappuccinos. And then I just got a shitty ass car, so I didn't need something other than Kraft mac and cheese.
No, your roommate was living peak life.
Hidden Lives of Animals by Peter Holden.
I could get brutal with some mac and cheese every day.
Dude, we got so much.
You
I
don't
eat a
wanna
lot
see
of mac
that.
and cheese.
You don't want to see that.
Yeah.
I eat a lot of mac and cheese at home, and then I just add broccoli to it, and I'm like,
Good.
Oh.
that's a meal.
I do that, but without the broccoli.
You don't need my approval, but just so you know, you've got it. Wholeheartedly.
Okay, one time, I told Amanda about this, but one time I had a soup party where everyone brought in like a different kind of soup, and we had bread bowls to eat it, and I loved it. We could have a mac and cheese party
Mac and cheese party!
where everyone brings in a different kind of mac and cheese, and we still eat them out of bread bowls. Sorry, Lucas. I'll carve a bread bowl for him.
I used to get, when I went to like Panera, I would get mac and cheese in a bread bowl, and I would like scoop, because like the crusty part of the bread with the mac and cheese,
Oof, did I? Yeah.
so good.
Yes, this is Colton. This is not Chandler. This is Colton.
It's a Magnanda.
Yeah.
Why is Gidget high?
Gidget is high because there was a lot of drilling noises going on, and
There's
she
a
was
little
getting
spooky in
stressed.
here.
It was a little spooky, and she was getting stressed out. So I gave her a little Gabby, which before one Gabapen wouldn't do much to her, and she is like fucking zonked today.
She's
from
living-
one.
Living the dream right now.
Yeah.
Guys, we're adding so many books.
Don't
Hell
fight me.
yeah.
I've never had mac and cheese.
Um,
How?
Who am I fighting?
Actually, I've they just like don't tell me if I'm wrong. I heard they just don't do that in Sweden. From someone who lives
Oh.
in Sweden. In fairness, but yeah, it was just like, no, that's not a thing.
What, mac and cheese?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's wild.
Are you from Sweden by chance?
I feel like there's a lot of places in the world
Yeah.
that eat mac and
It's
cheese.
very
It is
American.
Oh, all right, I'm eating mac and cheese. You guys can stop.
Yeah, so.
Mac and cheese is
Everybody
very
should
American.
make
Eating
mac and cheese. It's very good.
Oh, it's so good. I'm proud to be.
Or at least I've got my mac and cheese.
She's so cute. I'm like playing with
She's
her
okay,
foods,
y'all.
and she's not like.
She is happy.
She's showing teeth.
Alright,
Yeah.
all the books have been added.
Oh no.
Oh, let's get a zoom in here.
God, no way.
Do sriracha and mac and cheese. Oh no.
Wow.
You
That's
guys
Oh,
can
we
see
zoomed in
that.
on Gage.
Oh yeah! Look at all those books. Hell
Just-
yeah!
That's
Peepers?
nice.
Nope.
Oh, they're still there.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh, she was like, "Oh, you guys are talking about me? You're looking at me."
What?
Okay, we have a bunch of books on there, guys. Are we ready? Space, are we ready?
Yes.
It's time to spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel.
We added
Spin the wheel.
books. Oh, she's awake for.
Spinning.
Ma'am, you missed the whole meeting.
I showed your teeth to Chad.
Hard to tell what
It effed for us.
No! We don't know what it picked.
How about young naturalist?
Ooh.
Oh,
It's
my
David Attenborough.
David Attenborough.
Okay.
Cool. I've not heard of this one.
Jack recommended it.
Well,
It was one of the chat
Oh,
books.
yeah, okay.
chat suggestions.
Chat suggestion.
Adventures of a Young Naturalist. I will read a description.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like a memoir by him.
Does David voice the audiobook version?
Sir
That
David
would be such a-
Attenborough
Oh my God, that's the
is a broadcaster
so
and naturalist whose
nice.
television career is now in its 7th decade. After studying natural sciences at Cambridge and a brief stint in publishing, he joined the BBC in 1952 and spent 10 years making documentary programs of all kinds, including the Zoo Quest series. Oh, this is just like
questionable.
about the author. I'm so sorry. Let me find a description. Surely there's a description.
Is there a synopsis?
Living legend and presenter of BBC's Planet Earth series, Sir David Attenborough tells the story of his early career as a broadcaster and a naturalist in his own words. In 1954, as a young television presenter was offered the opportunity of a lifetime to travel the world finding rare and elusive animals for the London Zoo's collection and to film the expedition for BBC on a new show called Zoo Quest. This is the story of these voyages, staying with the local tribes while trekking in search of giant anteaters, Komodo dragons, and armadillos. And he and the rest of the team contended with cannibal fish, aggressive tree porcupines, and an escape artist wild pigs, as well as treacherous terrain, unpredictable weather, to record the incredible beauty and biodiversity of these regions. Written with his trademark wit and charm, Adventures of a Young Naturalist is not just the story of a remarkable adventure, but of the man who made us fall in love with the natural world and taught us the importance of protecting it, and who is still doing so today. Wicked. So it's a bit of an autobiography, like tales of his younger life when he started with BBC, I guess.
Cool.
Cool, chat. That is our book club number 3 for March. So get reading or get audio booking. Thank you guys for coming to the book club meeting. Thank you for watching. Anything else? Anybody? All right. See you later. See you tomorrow for the collab.
Bye.
Bye guys.